What's going on, everybody? This is Scott, also known as ChaChingKing, and today we're going to take a look at brands. Actually, we're going to take a look at not looking at brands. How many videos are there out there that talk about which brands you're supposed to watch for? Look at all of these recommendations for brands that you're supposed to look for. If you're a new reseller, if you're new to this game, you're looking at those and you're thinking, man, that is overwhelming. What makes it worse is that for every single one of those videos, there's videos like these that tell you what you're not supposed to look for. Don't pick up this brand. Stop buying these. These don't sell for me. So what I want to talk to you today is about how you can get started even if you don't know any brands. And there are some things that you can do that make this so much more realistic. Let's talk about why brand knowledge is not necessarily the best way to succeed. There's a few problems with knowing brand knowledge. Let's think about it. Do you sell clothes? Do you sell hard goods? Are you selling artwork? What are you wanting to sell? Within every single genre, there's items that sell and don't sell. And knowing all of those is going to be almost impossible. So let's talk about some things that you can do that make, regardless of what you sell in, a little bit easier. And I'm going to give you some tips for how to get better at each one of those things. Here's a few of the problems with brand knowledge. It's impossible to know every single brand. It's not possible. The top selling brands change all the time. What they were 2 years ago is not the same that they are today, and it's not the same as it will be in 6 months or 2 years from now. 3, brands don't travel well. If you are like us and you like to go different places, where you're at in the country or where you're at even within your own state, whether you're rural or urban, it all is going to make a difference on what brands are even available to you. So studying what somebody else is able to find may not have any impact on you there. Whether you're looking for car parts or clothing or cards, there's some things that you're always going to want to see. And the number one thing is quality. And the only way you're going to recognize quality is you're going to have to practice. You're going to need to get out there and handle some of these things. If you're going to sell primarily women's clothes, you need to go to the women's clothing shops. You need to look at new ones. You need to look at used ones. You need to go to garage sale, and you need to handle enough of them that when something comes up that you have never heard of before, you're going to instantly recognize whether or not it's a good quality item. That's step one. Recognizing quality. Step 2 also comes with experience. You're going to want to look for rarity. After quality, rarity is going to be really, really important. And that's where experience is going to show you that if it's a mall brand, you're going to see it all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is bad. Remember, we've already looked for quality, and some of the mall brands are decent quality, but they have no rarity whatsoever. Remember, we're in business, so supply and demand make a big difference. Even though people will probably buy it, if the supply outweighs that demand, if there's more of it available than what is selling, that's not going to help you a lot. You want to be out there looking enough to where something comes up and instantly you can tell it's high quality, and you look at that label or you look at the tag and you're like, okay, I don't recognize this. And that will help move us on to the next very beneficial step. 3, I want to check the condition of it very, very carefully. Whether I'm looking at a vintage console for my old pickup truck or whether I'm looking at a pair of shoes, I've already determined that this was a very well-made item, and they're not everywhere. There's less of them for sale than there are people looking for them. Now I'm going to check condition. And this also comes from some experience. You're going to have looked enough to know that most of them, even when I found them, they're in this condition, and I need them in this condition. I need them to shine. I need them to be flawless. Look your items over carefully, because condition can move you within the price range of that item a great deal. Of course, we're here to make a profit, so that condition is going to make a big, big difference for you. After we've done quality and we've looked at the rarity of the item and we know that the condition is good, now the last part, and And maybe the most important part, especially for some antique and exceptionally rare items, is the history of the item. Think about it. If you're buying a car, what's one of the first questions is it one owner? How many people had it? Who drove it? That makes a big difference on the condition parts of the vehicle that you can't see. If you're selling clothing, the history of that item could be very important if it's vintage clothing. Did they smoke? Were they pet friendly? There are things about the history of the item that you're going to get asked. And the cleaner the history is, the more likely you are going to be able to sell that item and make a profit on it, or how quickly you're going to be able to sell that item, or how well is that item going to stay sold, that they're not going to get it and then decide later on that it doesn't work for them. There are some things that you can do to increase your odds of finding something when you go out and look. And I want to talk to you just a little bit about what those things are. I hear all the time that someone will say, you're lucky where you live because there's so much good stuff available. There's nothing where I'm at. I hear that all the time. And the reality of it is somebody in your area is finding and selling great stuff. And one of the first tricks to doing this is to figure out what are they finding. I'm going to show you on the computer how you can look at what people are finding in your area. So let's move over to the computer and work on that. Let's talk a little bit about how to find out what people in my area are finding that they want to sell. And I'm going to do that from the Seller Hub right here. And we're going to start up here and we're going to search for anything. And let's say that we're going to sell shoes. And of course, you're going to see right away that there's like 6.2 million shoes listed. That doesn't help me one bit. But if you see right over here where it says best match, I'm going to click down and I'm going to put nearest first. And that does a lot of things. First of all, it's narrowed it down to 20,000. I'm not too far from the Dallas area, so that's going to be included in there. But what it might do is get it down. I'm looking for things that, these are mine, because it's done nearest first. Okay, these are all mine. So I want to when you do nearest first, you're going to get your own. I want to drop down past that, and I want to see in shoes what people are finding near me. And the big thing I'm looking for is what exactly do they have that, one, interests me. It fits what I'm looking for. It fits what I want to sell. But especially if you start to see a real trend. Let's look up t-shirts. I still have it on nearest first. It's funny that I get some that aren't mine that are nearest first. A lot of these are mine. And I sell a lot of t-shirts, so we'll drop down a little bit. I'm looking to see what are other people finding. And even if there's not a serious trend, like it's all Nike or all Under Armour or something like that, there are people in my area finding things. I live in a town called Penelope, which has a population of 181. I am not in some giant metropolitan area without driving an hour or an hour and a half to the Dallas area to find things. So where I'm at, that's mine. But you can tell right away that there are still things for sale. Somebody is picking up a lot of these. This has told me, regardless of what I'm looking up, there's somebody in my area selling it. But I also want to see what has sold. So I'm going to click on the left-hand side right over here, sold items. And it is going to filter. See, it's still on nearest first. And now it's going to talk about, it's going to bring up, because it's nearest first, it's going to bring up some of my sold. There's also going to be a whole bunch of these that have nothing to do with me. And I get a chance to see what have other people sold. The other thing you're going to notice when you do this, you're going to see sellers that you'll get to where you recognize their stuff. See this with this striped background here? It wouldn't take me too long to know, hey, this person is picking up all of these kind of things. One other thing that I want to do, it doesn't have to be by me. Instead of doing nearest first, let's say I want to do t-shirts, but I want to know what should I be looking for? What's the expensive stuff selling in my niche? And if I'm going to do t-shirts, I'm going to roll through these and start looking to see, especially if I see something obviously trending right away. Like right here already, I can see here's our Nirvana one that went somewhere south of 8,000. Here's another one for 6,600. And you see what I'm saying? So I can tell the concert t-shirts are going to go for a lot. But this right here is how I study. I get online and I look what's going near me. What do people have? What are they selling? What are they asking for it? And then I'll sort by highest. What is the holy grail out there that somebody has found and sold? Where this helps, instead of me trying to memorize brands, I am soaking in all of the different things that have popped up. And that is how I do this. It's pretty simple. We've looked at what's available in my area, and we've looked at what's sold in my area, and we've taken a little bit of a look at the higher priced items so I know what I hope to find when I get out there. It can still be overwhelming. Melody and I are resellers that are opportunistic. We sell a wide variety of items, and that's what we like to do. That keeps us interested. That is not necessarily where I would start. In fact, we didn't start there. When I started selling on eBay, I sold one thing and one thing only, and it was lumber. I sold lumber on the internet and shipped it all over the US. I understood lumber. I knew lumber. I knew it inside, and in fact, I think I knew it better than anybody else that was on eBay at that time. Later on, I added woodworking tools to it because I knew those very, very well. A friend of mine on Instagram and on YouTube, it's Dealing with Dalton, and he would tell you, instead of trying to memorize all of the brands, niche down. And he has a tremendous point in that if you niche down, you're going to be able to absorb much more quickly what is a good brand. You're going to learn much more quickly what's selling right now. If I were starting new today, I would probably niche down so that I would have a better grasp of what's available in my area and what I can sell, and it would make me more competitive. If you're new, or if you already know, I don't want to sell everything, I want to sell one thing, head over to Dalton's page, and he does primarily shoes. What he doesn't do, he does shoes, he doesn't do primarily shoes. What he talks about on the niching down, whether you sold shoes or not, if you're interested in selling one item and being an expert at that one thing, the things that he talks about will translate well to what you're doing. They just will. If you are interested in learning a lot of things, apply the things that we've talked about. Figure out what people are finding in your area. Figure out what people are selling in your area, like we showed on the computer. And then remember, regardless of the brand, get to where you can recognize quality. So important to be able to recognize quality regardless of the brand that's written on that label. 2, items that you don't see every day, something that there's going to be more demand than supply. And then 3, condition, condition, condition. If you satisfy all of those, there are going to be times that the history of the item is going to be really important, and then you move on to that one. You can do this job without memorizing every single brand. You don't need to learn all the brands. You need to learn why things sell, more importantly than which ones sell, because that's going to change just about the time you get started and figure out what you're doing. If you're ready to get started on eBay and you haven't done so yet, click right here. I've got a beginner tutorial. It's going to show you how to list your very first item. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.